Hey everybody, this is Guy's Comic Life, and today this is a different kind of video. This is something I have not done, but today we're going to do a ranking video, and this is the definitive list. This is Guy's Comic Life's top 10 Star Wars movies. Yes, I'm going to rank all the Star Wars movies in order. So, this is not an opinion, this is a fact. So, all the Star Wars movies ranked from 1 to 10, my least favorite to my favorite. They're the best. So, if you don't agree, you're wrong. Just kidding, guys. No matter what I put on this list, I'm going to get a lot of shit for it. I anticipate that. I can't wait for it. I want a friendly discussion in the comments. Just to let you know, no matter how bad a Star Wars movie is or how good it is, I like it. Doesn't matter what the worst Star Wars movie is on this list. There are parts in that I like. There is good things about all Star Wars movies, but there's usually bad things about all Star Wars movies. I'd say about 2 of them are perfect, and the rest of them have flaws. But this is how I rank them, and we're going to start off at number 10. And at number 10, we have Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Wait, what? No, wait, I mean The Last Jedi? No, wait, no. I mean Attack of the Clones, the second Star Wars prequel and the 5th overall Star Wars movie. I don't really have a lot to say about this movie. I rank it last because of all the movies in Star Wars, this movie doesn't really have anything memorable to it. You know, you can look at other Star Wars movies and say, oh man, that scene was so great. You know, a lot of people look at Attack of the Clones and say, oh, the fight between Count Dooku and Yoda is nice. There's some good fight choreography, but I just think the CGI looks, especially to today's standards, pretty outdated. The acting is, we've all heard it, it's insanely bad. The only 2 actors that hold this movie together are Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, who I absolutely love throughout the prequels, and Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, who I also admire, one of the best Star Wars actors to grace the screen as Chancellor Palpatine and the Emperor. They're just not on screen too much. They focus, and they should focus, on Anakin and Padme. And I do like Hayden Christensen as Anakin. I just think that the scenes he shares with Natalie Portman are extremely awkward. The romance does not feel real at all. And just very bad dialogue. Just do not believe that relationship at all. I honestly prefer relationships like Kira and Han Solo and Jyn and Cassian, even though they don't date. And obviously Han and Leia. This was supposed to be the romance that defines Star Wars, and it fell completely flat on its face. But the moments in this movie that I like are when Anakin finds his mother and dies in his arms, and when he goes rage on the Tusken Raiders. I think that Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan when they're not doing too much exposition is pretty good, which is why I like the Clone Wars TV show so much, because they do that better than they did in the movies. And at number 9, we have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, the same that I said for the Attack of the Clones can go for this. Very bad acting and dialogue. George Lucas, for some reason, struggled with writing the prequels. I do love the overall look and feel of this film, even though there are bad moments most of the time. I'm not going to get into Jar Jar. We all know that he's not a very good character. I didn't like him that much, but the worlds that George created, like the planet of Naboo, Coruscant, they're just so damn good. The pod racing scene is one of the best Star Wars scenes of all time. Darth Maul is one of my favorite Star Wars villains, and the Duel of the Fates is, in my opinion, the second best lightsaber fight of all time. Just the fight choreography, Darth Maul, just very memorable lightsaber fight. The music, John Williams' score is phenomenal. There's a lot to enjoy in this movie. It's just that, none of the characters are interesting at all. I'd say Qui-Gon and Darth Maul are the highlights, and Darth Maul doesn't get a lot of screen time. So that's why it comes in at number 9. And at number 8 is Solo, A Star Wars Story. For about a few months, this was my least favorite Star Wars film. But the more I watch this movie, I appreciate the living hell out of it. I think Alden Ehrenreich is a great Han Solo. I feel like it doesn't matter who they would have cast. You're always going to think of Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and it's hard to fill those shoes. But if you think about a kid, teenager Han Solo, the way he acts, his mannerisms, like, you really believe that this is Han as a kid. And his relationship with Chewbacca is great. I really like the father figure, mentor relationship he has with Tobias Beckett. Woody Harrelson gives a great performance. Emilia Clarke gives a great performance as Kira. I love the relationship with her and Han. The things that I don't like about this movie are the first 10 minutes, I think, are brutal. I think Corellia was very rushed and kind of scrambled. Like, that Lady Proxima, I thought was really, really damn goofy looking. Kind of reminded me of, like, the Rathar scene in The Force Awakens. Just very goofy, didn't belong at all. Like, you could have started this movie when he became an Imperial cadet. Oh, that reminds me, I hate how he got his name. But a good bad thing about the movie is Enfys Nest. The design of that character, oh my god, the theme for Enfys Nest is so damn good. But that reveal at the end of who, spoiler, she is, I did not like. I just feel like, her identity just didn't fit. I didn't like the whole rebellion cause at the end of the movie. But the surprise ending with Darth Maul and Kira really saved it. That was a huge, bold, good movie by Disney and Star Wars. And I know this movie gets a lot of hate, but it deserves a lot of love because it was daring, it took risks, it just came out at a very bad time. It was released like a week after Deadpool and a week after Avengers Infinity War. So I don't blame, the poor ticket sales on moviegoers. I blame Disney for them releasing it at a really bad time. If they would have saved it till Christmas, I bet this movie probably would have cleared like $800 million. A lot of people didn't even know this movie came out. But now that it's on Netflix and everything, people are catching on. And I think that this movie is just going to grow loved more over time. Every movie on this list from now on, I think, is pretty good. Pretty good. I'm going to get, you'll know which movies I think are perfect later on. And 7, we have Rogue One. This is a movie you can turn on and just enjoy it. You can turn it on at the beginning, you can turn it on in the middle, you can turn it on at the end. It's just one of those, I kind of feel like a fan made this movie. Like, just so much fan service to the original trilogy. All original trilogy fans love this movie. I feel like the only people that didn't like this movie are, but all the main characters die at the end. Spoiler, all the main characters die at the end of this movie. Well, what did you expect? It leads into A New Hope, and all the characters in the beginning don't appear in the original trilogy, so what did you really expect, guys? I think there are some pretty good performances. K2SO is a great character. Chirrut Imwe is a great character. The scenes with Darth Vader and Krennic are phenomenal. The last hour of this movie is absolutely breathtaking. I feel like the first half is kind of mediocre, but once you go to Scarif, it is non-stop action. I think the last 10 minutes of this movie are some of the best Star Wars ever. The scene with Darth Vader and the Rebels, you've all seen it, we've all talked about it. It's probably in the top 10 Star Wars scenes ever made. That's the Darth Vader that I wanted to see in the Star Wars prequels. That's what we needed to see in movies like Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. And I'm just glad that we had it for a short little glimpse of time. I am very appreciative of Rogue One, and I'm glad it exists. And this is where the controversy starts on my list. Coming in at number 6 is Star Wars Episode 8,
The Last Jedi.
Now, this movie is divisive. It killed the Star Wars fandom, and most people, for that reason, think that alone should have it be in last place. But, to me, this movie is bold, it is daring, it takes risks. This is something that Star Wars does not do very often. Now, while I love movies like The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi, it does not break the formula, but they are very predictable movies. I think that they are boring at times, but The Last Jedi is far from a boring movie, but it is not perfect. I think that The relationships between Luke and Rey and Kylo Ren are perfect. That whole side story with them on Ahch-To is great. I don't think Luke's character was mishandled at all. I think given the circumstances of the tragic past that he had with Kylo Ren, inadvertently turning Kylo Ren to the dark side, even though he was just trying to protect his friends because he saw Kylo turning to the dark side of the Force. Now, and here's why I defend this movie. People are saying Luke would never, ever try to kill his nephew in cold blood. Well, he didn't do it, and he regretted it immediately. And first of all, Luke thought about killing Darth Vader. Luke was going to kill Vader then and there. It was actually the Jedi, Obi-Wan and Yoda, who said, you need to kill Darth Vader. And Luke Skywalker not killing Kylo Ren shows that he is better than all the other Jedi. He has a moral, he has a code. He does not kill. And for him to ultimately go against the Jedi ways and, kill the Sith, he pays for it. And, his whole Jedi temple is burned to the ground and his life falls apart. He loses his best friends and he goes into seclusion. And the whole movie is a great character arc from someone who believes that they're not a legend and that the Jedi should die, from someone who goes and saves the Resistance and goes and shows Kylo Ren a lesson that hope is not dead and that the Jedi will return and Rey will be the last Jedi. Now, there are a lot of bad things about this movie. They poorly use the character of Finn. They poorly use Poe. There is a lot of politics in this movie that are unnecessary. Admiral Holdo and Rose are characters that are unnecessary, not needed. Social justice politics do not belong in Star Wars. That is all I will say. So I would say that the middle act of this movie is very weak. It starts strong and it ends strong. The whole Battle of Crate is an absolute masterpiece, and I love the way it was filmed. Just not a perfect movie, but it's good. It's entertaining, and that's all you can ask for from Star Wars these days. And now we are at the top 5. Number 5. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, I'm just going to say it right here. I am aware that this movie, beat for beat for beat, is A New Hope. But I love it. This movie is entertaining. You don't need to watch a Star Wars movie to sit down and watch this movie, and that's what J.J. Abrams wanted to do when he understood that. He needed to get rid of a lot of the toxic things, like prequel haters and people that wanted the feeling of originals mixed in with the prequels, introducing new things, and he had to fill in a whole gap of 30 years that were missing from Star Wars. It's just that the problem is this movie should have been made like 15 years ago. The stories that I wanted to see in Episode 7 is how Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, how he turned against Luke, how Han and Leia lost him. It's just unfortunate that these characters are too old, and now, unfortunately, Carrie Fisher has passed away. We will never see that. But for what Episode 7 is, it is a breath of fresh air. Forget about Episode 8. Pretend it doesn't exist. That whole opening scene on Jakku was mind-blowing. Kylo Ren is a force to be reckoned with, and he has emotion and a character arc. We haven't seen a character like Kylo Ren in a long time. He is conflicted. He is torn between the dark side and the light side. A character who wants to transcend into darkness, but is held back by the light side of the Force and being part of the Skywalker family. His relationship with Rey. God, these characters to start off with were so strong. And I really, really admire this film. I walked into The Force Awakens not knowing what to expect, and I walked out so damn happy. And I can pop that movie in at any point in time. Doesn't matter what kind of day I'm having, and I can enjoy it. It doesn't matter what flaws that movie has. It has flaws. But it is non-stop entertainment. I love the action, I love the effects, and the characters are great. Now, number 4 is Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Now, yes, it is the weakest of the original trilogy, but that does not mean it is a bad movie. Return of the Jedi is a very good Star Wars movie. I just think it borrows too many elements from A New Hope, a second Death Star, another another trench run where they have to blow up the Death Star. I feel like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher's performances aren't very good, but it's so great to see the original heroes' chemistry together. I just feel like nothing will ever break up that squad. The last hour of this movie is fucking breathtaking. The Battle of Endor on the ground and in the air is just a spectacle. I don't know how they photographed that space battle in 1983 with just miniatures and matte paintings, because it looks better than most special effects that come out today. Even though the first act of the movie is not very good, the production design is flawless. I have never seen such brilliance from a movie in terms of production design than things like in Jabba's palace, how Jabba looks, like Jabba's sail barge. They built the fucking Sarlacc pit. That whole thing, they built it. The action in this movie is amazing. The duel at the end with Darth Vader and Luke is some of the most emotional Star Wars we have ever seen. And when Luke decides not to kill Vader, and then Vader saving Luke from the Emperor, ultimately becoming the Chosen One and restoring balance to the Force, is one of the best moments in all of Star Wars. So despite the flaws of this movie scattered throughout, it ends the trilogy in the most satisfying way possible. If you are a fan of Star Wars, and especially the original trilogy like myself, you will not dislike this movie. It is great. Now, my top 3 Star Wars films are, coming in at number 3, is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yes, not all the prequels are bad. This movie is a masterpiece. I don't care what anybody says or what any of the haters say. This movie is the reason why the Clone Wars show is so good. Hayden Christensen goes from an awkward, doesn't know how to deliver dialogue actor to, in this movie, I believe he is Anakin Skywalker. I follow him and I am with him every step of the way. You see him leading the Republic in the beginning and wanting to save clone troopers and wanting to save Obi-Wan Kenobi, disobeying orders from the Chancellor, saving Obi-Wan from Count Dooku, defeating Count Dooku, you know, but is afraid to lose his wife, is afraid of his wife from death, and having the memory of not saving his mother, he doesn't want that to happen again, so he makes a pact with the devil to save her life, and finding out that Emperor Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine at the moment, is a Sith Lord, and decides to turn to the dark side only to save her life, but ultimately in the end, him joining the dark side is what ultimately ends up him losing her. And I find that very, as Palpatine says, ironic. It's a very tragic movie. The performances in this movie are actually very good. I've said these two names before, but Ewan McGregor's performance is one of the best Star Wars performances in this movie. The immolation scene is probably the best Star Wars scene in the prequels, probably outside of the original trilogy, the best scene. Ewan, you know, you were my brother Anakin, I loved you. That whole scene today just gives me straight up chills. That battle on Mustafar is damn crazy. There's a lot of things I wish that were handled differently in the battle. The Force was not used properly. I don't know why they didn't use the Force, but the lightsaber choreography is out of this world. The special effects are crazy, and I love the dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Oh my god, this probably has the best Star Wars soundtrack than in any other movie. Just go listen to Anakin's Dark Deeds or the immolation scene in Battle of the Heroes. Damn, John Williams is a genius. You know, I'd say just the things holding this back in this movie are, it's tonally inconsistent because it kind of has a dramatic shift, but you kind of need that in this movie, and a lot of the performances are weak. I still don't care for Natalie Portman. I think a lot of the performances from the Jedi are pretty bad, and side characters are pretty bad, but like Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, holy shit, so good. Just like Palpatine was in Return of the Jedi, just scary, but he loves being scary and he loves being evil, and you can't help but admire that. This is the closest to the original trilogy we will ever get, and I love Revenge of the Sith. It came out when I was 12, and it just holds a special place in my heart for being that Star Wars movie that I grew up with, and it just got better with over time. I used to have a lot more problems with it, but now I've really grown to appreciate it more, and I'm glad I grew up with it. Number 2 on my list. You'll know what number 1 is after I say it, so I'm just going to get these out of the way. Now, these two are absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with either of these two movies. Episode 4, A New Hope, is my second favorite Star Wars movie. It was the first Star Wars movie to ever come out in 1977, and I am so envious of people like my mother and father who got to see this movie when it came out, and it just took the world by storm. It changed the world. It still changes the world. People see Darth Vader and Han and Luke and Leia, and they want to be them, and they want to overthrow the Empire and be rebels and join the cause, and that just, God, resonates so well with what's going on in the world today. Talk about a way with getting political and not having to talk about politics. Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan. God, one of the best performances of all time, not just in Star Wars. God, Ben Kenobi is cool. Everyone wants to be Harrison Ford. Everyone wants to be Luke Skywalker. And the story of the original Star Wars, a farm boy who grows up just wanting to get away, finding out that his father is the most powerful evil being in the entire galaxy, growing up from just, being a farm boy to being a rebel to being a Jedi to facing his father in front of the Emperor, defeating his father, redeeming his father, and then having his father become the chosen one and save the rebellion is one of the best character arcs in all of movies. And it all started in A New Hope. It changed the world. And my favorite Star Wars film of all time is the best, hands down, no questions asked about it, is The Empire Strikes Back, with the greatest villain in all of Star Wars and cinema, Darth Vader. He absolutely steals every scene he is in. He is why this movie is so damn good. Vader was basically a side character in A New Hope. He only got 15 minutes of screen time. He is a bad, bad man in this movie. He goes out of his way to destroy every character's life in this movie just to find Luke Skywalker, because he knows that he is his son, because he is strong with the Force, and he destroyed the Death Star. George's vision was so captivating in A New Hope, and for him to let his friend and mentor, Irvin Kershner, direct this movie was a great move, because Irvin Kershner had a great vision for this movie. It feels so much different than any other Star Wars movie, and it introduced more than any other Star Wars had to offer. Bespin, Hoth, Dagobah, characters like Yoda, Lando Calrissian are some of the best characters and planets we have ever seen. It is the peak of Star Wars. It was when Star Wars was not divisive and was not a problem for fans. Everybody loved Star Wars at that point in time, and it is because that movie thrived so much. If any movie was deserved of Best Picture in all of Star Wars, it was The Empire Strikes Back. It is my favorite movie of all time, and one of the greatest movies of all time. It's just my personal favorite movie. Beginning, middle, and end. And not just with Darth Vader being great and Luke being great, but just the battle scenes, the relationship between Han and Leia, and her not wanting to fall for a scoundrel, but they can't fight that attraction for each other. The I love you, I know scene with the carbonite is probably the second best scene next to I am your father, which is also in this movie. And then you have the Battle of Hoth, which is probably the best Star Wars battle ever. You will not find something to dislike in this movie. If you think that this is the weakest Star Wars because it is the most boring one of all of them, it is because you don't have any patience, to quote Yoda. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my ranking. If you didn't, it's okay, just like the video. If you like the ranking, like the video. And if you have a top 10 of your own, please share it in the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed this video and continue to like Star Wars. I know it's pretty divisive right now, but the fans are going to fight hard and they're going to fight back. That new Vader fan film is amazing, The Shards of the Past. Go watch it, even though Disney claimed it and monetized it and are being complete dicks to Star Wars theory. I admire him for having the balls to make something that Disney doesn't really want to make right now. But regardless of that, I'm excited for Episode 9. I'm excited for The Mandalorian, and most excited for the Clone Wars TV show to come back. And, as always, may the Force be with you. Like and subscribe, guys. Peace out.